It's story time. Chapter 1. You want to look like a gangbanger? I was an incredibly influential 12-year-old. I was the perfect consumer for manufactured pop. I bought what was sold to me. And that included the Spice Girls, the girl group of the 90s. And I had a little book that shared random facts about them, including all of their tattoos. Sporty Spice had a Chinese symbol and a barbed wire on her left forearm, and I remember thinking it was so cool. I even drew the exact same tattoos on my Barbies. So when my Tito gave me and my sister high-quality waterproof temporary tattoos, I picked the one that looked the most like Sporty Spice's. I knew that my parents would be mad if they saw it, so I decided to place it high up on my forearm so it would be covered by my shirt sleeve. And once it was applied, I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. I just felt so badass. Retelling this now, I know how lame this sounds, but bear in mind, I also wasn't allowed to wear makeup or color nail polish, so to me, this was rebellious as hell. My Tito wasn't joking when he said these were high-quality temporary tattoos. It lasted through multiple showers, and I was successfully able to keep it hidden from my parents the whole time, all the while sneaking secret glances of it by myself in my room. Then one day, I was in the living room watching TV. My dad had come downstairs, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it prompted me to raise my arms in excitement, and I had completely forgotten about my forearm secret. My sleeve slid back, revealing my brightly colored fake tattoo, and my dad reacted exactly how I expected him to. "So, you want to look like a gangbanger?" he said, half jokingly, half disgusted. "What, it's just fake." I tried to defend myself. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "From Tito." My dad was not surprised. My Tito was the only one of my close family who had prominent tattoos, and really, it's just one giant tattoo on his leg. My dad made me wash it off and reminded me that only criminals have tattoos. This attitude is not uncommon at all. He grew up in a conservative time where the only people who had tattoos were incarcerated, or soldiers, circus freaks, and unruly rock and roll stars. But way before tattoos came to America, or American colonies such as the Philippines, they had existed among indigenous peoples around the world for thousands of years. And for indigenous Filipinos, tattoos held a significance that was far beyond skin deep.
My name is Lane Wilcken. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am of English, Scandinavian, and Filipino descent. I am what is called a mambabatok, traditional tattoo practitioner from the Philippines. And in my practice, we deal a lot with the spiritual side of the world. Mambabatok is a ritual tattoo practitioner. It's different from being a tattoo artist. Tattoo artists get to express themselves artistically, whereas what I do is a ritual that is designed to unite descendants and ancestors together symbolically and spiritually through the practice of tattoo. This is a practice from the Philippines that dates back thousands of years ago. Some of the oldest tattooing artifacts that have been discovered in the Philippines are dated close to 4,000 years old. And so the practice formerly was very much a part of everyday life, part of society, whereas after the Spanish advent, this practice has gone into decline, and most places in the Philippines no longer have a tattooing practice. What I've been doing here in the States for the Filipino American community is try to recover that practice for them. And the mambabatok sometimes acts as an intermediary between the spiritual world and this world. We are expected to be able to sense what a person needs, what their ancestors want them to be marked with, as well as, what would be appropriate for that person's role in our community. And so the marks reflect all those things, but the marks foremost are dedicated to the ancestors, what we call anito. They're meant to enhance a person's relationship with the spirit world or with their ancestors. Because people are coming from this Western understanding of tattooing as body art or adornment, they don't realize the depth that comes with cultural tattooing. When we tattoo, in the ancient days, we would be sacrificing animals. And part of that animal would be set aside as a food offering for the ancestors. The other part of the animal would go to feast the people who are doing the tattooing or the community that is involved. And so when you make these offerings, what we call a atang or alay, then you invite your ancestors to join you. And there are prayers that have been handed down to me from my mother's side for the purpose of summoning ancestors to a ritual or a particular event. And in those prayers, we ask them to come. We ask them to come and recognize the batok or the tattoo that we are placing upon the person. And people get surprised when they have a spiritual experience. The very first person I tattooed after my dad, and this is a Filipina from the Bay Area, grown up outside of the Philippines, didn't know anything about the ancient culture, but while she was getting tattooed, she kind of blissed out and had this vision of a man squatting near her, watching her get her marks, and she was describing his regalia, what he was wearing, his loincloth and the what she called a turban wrapped around his head, and how it was red. There is no way that she could have known any of that. Most Filipinos don't even know what their ancestors wore, really. It was a vivid description of this person, and I knew exactly what she was talking about, but she had no idea. That very first time that I did cultural work, there was this visitation, so to speak. And it happens.
When the Spanish colonizers first arrived in the Philippines, they called it the Island of the Painted Ones because of how decorated the people were. And according to Spaniards, tattoos were demonic and ungodly. So in the process of converting the Filipinos to Catholicism, batok, as well as countless other traditions, were nearly erased. Today, many Filipinos are eager to receive batok and keep this tradition alive. But there aren't enough mambabatok to keep up with the demand.
There are over 120 million Filipinos or people of Filipino descent in the world today, and there are around 10, maybe, recognized mambabatok in the Philippines. There may be others that I don't know of. And so the demand is really high. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything like that. It's just that there's very few people that do this type of ritual work. When people come to me, they are asked, first and foremost, what is your ethnic background from the Philippines? Where did your ancestors originate from? What region of the Philippines did they originate from? Because different islands, different regions have different markings. They might have similar motifs, but how those motifs are oriented changes what ethnic group or ancestry you belong to. And then we need to ask them, about their role in the community. What do they do? Because some of the marks reflect that. We also ask their reason why they're asking for this ritual. And that's one of the big questions that helps me decide whether or not they're ready or not to receive these marks. Everybody's skin is different. Every person is different. Emotionally, your emotional state affects how your skin receives the ink. Some people's skin is really thirsty. It'll just drink the ink right up. It's beautiful to tattoo, and other people, it's a struggle. So sometimes the tattoo can be done in, under an hour, and I've tattooed as long as 11 hours. Yeah, it's different for everybody.
Every tattoo tells a story. Sometimes That story is as simple as wanting permanent wearable art. For soldiers in the Civil War, they heavily inked themselves so their dead bodies could be more easily identified. For those who are incarcerated, do-it-yourself tattoos provide a sense of individualism once it's been stripped away. And for Filipinos, a tattoo is a visual connection to our ancestors. So I find it so strange that our modern society tends to lump all tattoos together when they serve a variety of purposes. So if you're like my dad and are averse to tattoos, have conversations with those who are inked. Ask them the story of their marks. As you'll hear in the next chapter, the story of how they received them is just as expressive as the marks themselves.